Have you ever noticed that the harder you try to be happy, the more miserable you become? Or that the more desperately you search for love, the more it seems to slip right through your fingers? This curious paradox isn't merely a trick of the mind, it's a profound principle known as the backwards law. Understanding this law isn't just an intellectual exercise. It can completely transform your life, shifting your approach to success, love, and inner peace. Imagine setting your heart on becoming a wildly successful entrepreneur. You're filled with commitment and drive, ready to pour every ounce of energy into your business. Yet, paradoxically, that very commitment makes you painfully aware of the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Each day, the pressure of that distance grows heavier. The more you obsess over reaching that elusive milestone, the more unsuccessful you feel, even as you make progress. This isn't a failure of effort. It's the backwards law in action. When we fixate intensely on our desires, we often end up magnifying the sense of lack and inadequacy. This ancient wisdom isn't new. Epicurus, the ancient Greek philosopher, famously said, "If you wish to be rich, do not add to your money, but subtract from your desire." His insight challenges the conventional notion that piling on more, whether it be wealth, accolades, or possessions, will inevitably lead to happiness. Instead, Epicurus invites us to consider that sometimes less is more. By reducing our desires, we can free ourselves from the relentless cycle of wanting and, in turn, find satisfaction in what we already possess. The backwards law suggests a counterintuitive truth. The more fiercely you chase something, the further away it seems to drift. Picture trying to grasp a handful of water. The tighter you squeeze, the more the liquid escapes your grip. Alan Watts, the philosopher who so elegantly bridged Eastern wisdom and Western thought, explained this beautifully. He observed that our minds are often preoccupied with chasing after what we think we should want, rather than discovering what truly resonates with our inner selves. We become trapped on a hedonic treadmill, perpetually pursuing the next goal or achievement, only to find that satisfaction remains forever out of reach. But why does this happen? Consider the case of happiness. Society teaches us that happiness is the reward for achieving specific goals, getting that promotion, buying the perfect house, or finding the ideal partner. Yet, by constantly measuring our happiness against these milestones, we inadvertently set ourselves up for anxiety and disappointment. The more we chase happiness as if it were a finish line, the more it eludes us. It's not that happiness is unattainable. Rather, it's that the act of chasing it transforms our experience into one of perpetual lack. Take anxiety as another example. When you're anxious, your natural response is to try to control every aspect of your life. Your thoughts, your emotions, your environment, and even your future. This relentless quest for control, however, only intensifies your anxiety. It creates a vicious cycle where the more you attempt to rein in the uncontrollable, the more overwhelmed you become. The key, then, lies in learning to let go, to trust the natural flow of life rather than forcing outcomes. We see this same principle at play with wealth. Imagine waking up every morning with a singular thought: I must become rich. With every waking moment, your mind fixates on that desire. Yet, paradoxically, the more you dwell on the need for wealth, the poorer you may feel regardless of your bank balance. True wealth, as many great minds have taught us, is a state of mind. A deep-seated sense of abundance that isn't measured by dollars and cents, but by gratitude, contentment, and inner fulfillment. Now consider love. When we desperately search for it, love can become a mirage, ever present in our imagination but frustratingly out of reach in reality. The moment we stop trying so hard to force a connection and instead focus on self-discovery and personal growth, something magical occurs. In that space of inner peace, love begins to flow naturally. When we come to know and accept ourselves, we create the conditions for authentic relationships. We begin to understand that the quality of our connections isn't determined by frantic pursuit, but by genuine presence and mutual respect. The German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer was acutely aware of this dynamic. He argued that human beings are driven by an insatiable will, an endless striving that, ironically, is the source of our suffering. The more we want, the more we suffer. Schopenhauer's insights reveal that our continuous craving for more, whether it's success, love, or material possessions, only deepens our sense of dissatisfaction. His perspective invites us to reconsider our pursuits. Perhaps the key to a fulfilling life isn't in accumulating more, but in desiring less. So, how can we apply this wisdom in a practical way? Let's revisit the dream of becoming a millionaire. Repeating affirmations like, "I am a millionaire," may sound empowering, but if your subconscious mind harbors doubt, those words remain empty. Instead, shift your focus from the distant, intimidating end goal to the tangible process unfolding day by day. Celebrate each small victory, every new client, every successful project, every skill you master. These seemingly minor accomplishments are the true building blocks of success. When you align your daily actions with your broader goals, while simultaneously releasing an obsessive attachment to the outcome, you create a fertile ground for genuine progress. Imagine walking on a narrow plank of wood. When the plank is on the ground, you hardly think about the possibility of falling because the risk seems minimal. But elevate that same plank 20 feet into the air, and suddenly, every step is laden with fear. It's not the plank itself that has changed, it's your perspective. The same is true for life. Our fears, anxieties, and even our ambitions are magnified when we let our thoughts spiral into worst-case scenarios. Instead, by shifting our mindset, by choosing to see each step as part of a natural progression, we can transform anxiety into a sense of adventure. This is where the transformative power of imagination comes into play. Your conscious desire to achieve something must be in harmony with your subconscious belief in its possibility. When these two forces align, you enter a state of flow, much like a musician who becomes one with their instrument or a dancer who moves effortlessly without conscious effort. Think of it as learning to drive a car. Initially, every maneuver requires your full attention, but over time, with practice, the act becomes almost automatic. Your subconscious takes the helm, and you find yourself gliding along, aware but not overwhelmed by the journey. The flow state represents that magical balance between effort and surrender, a state of active relaxation where your conscious intent guides your actions without clashing with your natural, intuitive processes. It's in this state that true creativity, innovation, and even happiness blossom. Seneca, the Roman philosopher, encapsulated this beautifully when he said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." When we let go of our compulsive need for control, we become fully present. We notice the subtle, beautiful moments that weave the tapestry of life, the quiet conversations with loved ones, the gentle rhythm of nature, the simple act of breathing without worry. As we expand our perspective, it becomes clear that the secret isn't in the relentless chase. It's in the art of letting go. Life is less about the frantic pursuit of an ever-moving target and more about embracing the journey with a calm and open heart. When you release the need to force outcomes and instead allow life to unfold naturally, everything you've been seeking begins to flow towards you as if by magic. Consider the process of learning itself. When you're trying to force yourself to memorize facts or master a skill, frustration can set in. But when you allow the learning to happen organically, when you're curious, relaxed, and open to the experience, the knowledge settles in naturally, almost effortlessly. The same principle applies to every area of life. Whether you're striving for professional success, nurturing relationships, or seeking inner peace, the path to fulfillment lies in balancing ambition with acceptance. In our modern world, filled with instant gratification and constant stimuli, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that more is always better. We equate busy schedules, endless achievements, and accumulating possessions with happiness. But as the backwards law reveals, this relentless chase can leave us feeling emptier than before. Instead, true fulfillment arises when we learn to appreciate the journey itself, the growth, the learning, and the quiet moments of contentment that come from simply being present. When you begin to embody this wisdom, you'll notice subtle shifts in your life. Your relationships deepen because you're no longer so preoccupied with what you're missing that you overlook what you already have. Your mind becomes clearer, more focused on the now rather than the hypothetical future. And as your anxiety subsides, you open up to possibilities you never imagined. Ultimately, the backwards law teaches us that the more you chase something, the more it runs away. But in learning to be still, to trust the process, and to let go of the need for rigid control, you create space for everything you desire to manifest naturally. In that space of serene acceptance, you can begin to truly enjoy each moment, live authentically, and allow the treasures of life, success, love, wealth, and peace, to arrive in their own perfect time. So, the next time you find yourself desperately chasing after happiness or success, pause for a moment. Reflect on the wisdom of Epicurus, Watts, Schopenhauer, and Seneca. Remember that the pursuit itself might be the very obstacle in your way. Instead of clinging to the idea of an ideal future, immerse yourself in the beauty of the present moment. Trust that when you release the grip of relentless striving, life has a remarkable way of gifting you with exactly what you need, often when you least expect it. In this delicate balance of effort and ease, you'll discover that life's greatest treasures aren't found by forcing them into existence. They emerge naturally when you learn to let go, be present, and truly enjoy the journey.